wanted to do was to look at which houses my answers were correlated with, and I'm going to do that according to the Pottermore analysis Tumblr. I will leave the link in the description as well. There is a quick and dirty sorting hat guide. The only problem with this one is that it's according to the old Pottermore account. As you can see, this was actually posted in 2012, but it's also not super specific, so it's got pretty much the information that I want for this video, just it doesn't say anything about the pet you're bringing, which may or may not have a factor in the test. I actually think now that I've looked at it more that it does, but it's a much smaller factor, but because of that it reduces very significantly the number of hat stalls that occur. And as a side note, it seems like they treat hat stalls differently now. Instead of you choosing which house, they give priority to Gryffindor and then Ravenclaw and then Hufflepuff. So whichever house out of your hat stalls is higher on that list is the one that you would get chosen. So anyway, let's just go through this and see what houses correlate with my answers. So a lot of the questions with just 4 answers have one house correlated to each answer. And on a lot of those, my answer correlates with the Ravenclaw one because that's what best fits my personality. So like these first few, I chose I would want to be known as the wise, that's Ravenclaw. I wouldn't want to be called ignorant, that's Ravenclaw. I would want wisdom, that's Ravenclaw. This one's different though. On this one, I chose miss me and smile, so that's Hufflepuff, which makes sense with usually I claim Ravenclaw then Hufflepuff, although Hufflepuff is, like I was saying, tied with Slytherin a lot of times. Continuing on, smell of parchment is Ravenclaw. And then I chose Merlin's box with a loon, which is Slytherin. The interesting thing about this one is that this is actually one of the problem questions where more Ravenclaws actually pick the Slytherin answer than the Ravenclaw answer. So apparently I picked the answer that most Ravenclaws pick, even though it doesn't give me points for Ravenclaw. And then piano is Ravenclaw, which is good. The silver glittery potion is Ravenclaw. And then this one, so the interesting thing with this one is that I have now situated on I like this statue, the old wizard statue, the best. That's actually Gryffindor, which seems kind of interesting to me. I used to always pick the luminous pool, which is Slytherin. And I think only once can I remember I actually picked the Ravenclaw one, which is the tree. And I don't even really remember why I chose it. I just remember kind of choosing that one for some reason. And I'm like, you know, I actually like the other ones better. But that's kind of funny. So that's one of the few questions where Ravenclaw answer is not even in my top 2. Now we're getting to the more complex ones. So it looks like the records, then the book, then the cure is Slytherin primary and Hufflepuff secondary. Now we don't know exactly how many points it would give to each of those, but apparently that's mostly Slytherin and then Hufflepuff, neither of which are Ravenclaw, which also intrigues me because both of the ones where the records are first don't have Ravenclaw weighted in the answer. So even though I definitely think the records are the most important, apparently other Ravenclaws wouldn't think so. I don't know. Okay, continuing on, I would rather be praised is what I think I decided on. And again, that one's interesting because that one's Gryffindor primary and then Slytherin and doesn't have Ravenclaw at all. A lot of the times, however, on this one, I do say imitated. I have said that before, which is Ravenclaw. I've said trusted and liked before. It's also kind of unknown if there's a secondary Ravenclaw answer as well, and so I don't know what those would be. So it looks like that's another question where I'm not with the Ravenclaw answer. I feel like I should count up the ones that I'm not Ravenclaw. I think I'll just count them up at the end though. And then on the next one, I said I least like hunger, which is Hufflepuff primary and then Ravenclaw secondary. But then this one's also another interesting one because there's not a primary Ravenclaw answer on it too, so I don't know. I think I'll not count that in the number of ones that aren't Ravenclaw. On the next question, I wanted to learn every area of magic, and that one is Ravenclaw, so we're good there. Although this site also says it gives you points for Slytherin, and I've not seen that on other ones, and so that's interesting too. I also said I wanted to change my appearance. That one's mostly Slytherin, but also next Ravenclaw, although I think this, it says, is another one of the ones where it's actually really popular among Ravenclaws, but it doesn't give you all the points that you deserve for it. Additionally, I always say that I want to learn about more people. They're super cool. Interestingly enough, that one only gives me points for Slytherin. I'm starting to see why this time I got a lot of points for Slytherin, which I guess a lot of times I say that Slytherin's actually my second most favorite house, although I do feel like I'm more likely to be in Hufflepuff than Slytherin, and these answers just didn't show that. Now, moving on to the next set of questions. Telling the truth to Flitwick was Ravenclaw. The path with cobbled buildings was Ravenclaw. The asking the muggle why they think I'm a witch is Ravenclaw. Withdrawing into the shadows is the Ravenclaw. Wow. Confusing the troll is Ravenclaw, and being up high with no handholds is Ravenclaw. So it looks like out of all of those questions, I chose the Ravenclaw one. Now we're getting back to the point why I'm like 70 or 80% Ravenclaw. Oh, and now we are just to the questions that have only 2 choices. Stars and moon. I said stars. This is also one of the ones that's kind of poorly weighted because most Ravenclaws say stars, even though moon gives you points for Ravenclaw. So that's another one that I'm not Ravenclaw. Then I also said river instead of forest. Apparently that one is Slytherin and Hufflepuff, not Ravenclaw. And then I said dawn, which is Ravenclaw and Gryffindor. And then I said white, which is Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw. I said right, which is Gryffindor and Hufflepuff, so that one I didn't get. And then, last but not least, I said tails, which is also not Ravenclaw. That's Gryffindor and Slytherin. So it looks like out of the 27 questions that I was looking at, that's all of them except for the pets one, I answered 17 of them with a Ravenclaw answer and only 10 of them without one. 17 out of 28 is pretty good, but that's not like perfect. So it's also interesting that I've literally never got anything other than Ravenclaw unless I was specifically trying to not get Ravenclaw. That made me curious about what the probability of me not getting Ravenclaw is. And of course, that would be generally easy to calculate if I had the data, but the problem is the data I need is the outcome of all 9,720 possible tests I could take, which also I can't really figure out unless I have the weights. And so this may be a project that I'm starting on, but it also may take quite a while because I'm also planning my wedding. But anyway, I did find one resource that I think is helpful and it seems pretty accurate. I think it claims 98% accuracy and it gives really specific weights to each of the problems. So I found this analysis on Reddit, which I can also leave a link to in the description, and it gave me this spreadsheet that I was able to look at and look at how many points each of my answers would give me for each house. So I went ahead and did that, and over here on the left side what you can see is all of my answers grouped by question group and how many points are supposedly associated with them, and so I used that to calculate my own score for the full Pottermore test, and the cool thing is that this one actually does include the pet question. So I arbitrarily added these points. I'm not even positive that's what, like, the computer program would do with them in the end, but it makes sense. I just added the points up, and it looks like I have 470 points for Ravenclaw, and then the other houses are all negative numbers. The next biggest one, though, is Hufflepuff with only negative 84 as compared to negative 128 and negative 202 for Gryffindor and Slytherin. But the interesting thing about this one is it places Gryffindor above Slytherin for me, which, like, never happens. But also, you can see that gap. That is like a 550 point gap there between my top house and my second house. And so I wanted to see if it is at all possible to get the other houses. And I checked, and over here on the right is what that is. The yellow one is one possible way that I found of getting Hufflepuff. The green one is one possible way of getting Slytherin, and the red one is one possible way of getting Gryffindor. Now, I just did that to prove that if these numbers are accurate or close to accurate, that it is possible for me to get all of the houses with the Pottermore quiz. However, just because there's one way, that might mean that it's 1 out of 9,720, which is like 0.01% of a chance for me to get it. Anyway, I had fun with this, and I'm sure this video ended up being way longer than I meant it to be. Sorry to ramble a little bit. It was fun looking at the Pottermore sorting quiz and what other people have been able to analyze about it. I hope I can do some analysis of my own when I do have time, but I probably won't get to that for a while. But what I hope the most is that you enjoyed watching this video and learning what I learned about the sorting test. If you did enjoy it, give me a like on this video, and don't forget to subscribe. You can do that by clicking here. Check out my other videos. Up here is the video I did last week, and down here is a playlist of all my Harry Potter videos. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next Monday. Bye!